In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to create a fire risk assessment report using the Flow mobile surveying app. This template that I'm about to show you uses the original PAS 79 standards, but it's fully customizable so you can update it with any new regulations or changes or any of your own systems or procedures. So before I start, I just want to explain there are two parts to the software. There's the dashboard, which you can see here on the left hand side, and there's the mobile app, which you can see here on the right hand side. You can use the dashboard from any browser like Chrome or Internet Explorer on your laptop or desktop machine, and the mobile app works on Android or iOS devices. So let's get stuck in and I'll show you how to start creating your fire risk assessment report. The first thing we're going to need to do is to schedule up a job using the dashboard. Let me show you how that's done. To schedule a job, click the Create Job button. Type in the name of your client, a project reference, and then you can start typing the address. And you can see as I'm typing here, it will start to find the address on the map. And it's found the coordinates there. What we can do at this point is, if this isn't exactly correct, we can zoom in. I happen to know that the address is closer to this end of the building, so I can drag this marker position over. And this is useful because it's going to get used for directions on the mobile app, and it will also show on the second page of your reports. If I scroll down, we then need to pop this job into what's called a pipeline. I'm going to put this into our fire risk assessments pipeline. Don't worry too much about what this means. If you can just think of it as a series of stages that the job must go through before it's considered to be complete. Next, we can pop in the site work date. I'm going to put today. We can assign it to some surveyors. I'm going to say it's myself and my brother David. The due date is when you expect the report to go to your client. So just keep an eye on the mobile app on the right hand side. I'm going to save this job. Now what you'll notice is as soon as I saved the job in the dashboard, it was instantly added to the mobile app. That's because our app is in constant real-time communication, so the app will communicate with the dashboard and vice versa. Any changes you make on one will be instantly reflected on the other, as long as you have an internet connection. A question we often get asked at this time in the demo is, will the app work while it's offline? The answer is yes, it will continue to work offline, and it will automatically sync up as soon as you get an internet connection. So at this point you have one of two options. You can either add the report in the office using the dashboard, or you can add it on site using the mobile app. If you're doing some sort of desktop study in advance of going to site, you'll have to add the report from the dashboard like this. But most people just add the report while they're on the site, in which case just pop into the job and add a new report. Let's go ahead and add this fire risk assessment V5 template. You can see as soon as we added that report, it was instantly added to the dashboard. We didn't have to press a sync button or anything like that. So that's great if you've got someone in the office, because they can be watching your work as you're on site. And they can also be giving you feedback as you go. So let's go back to the mobile app. And the first thing we're going to do is to take a cover photo. Typically this would be a photo of the outside of the building that you're surveying. Let's click Save, and you can see that section is now complete. The next thing to do is to add some general information about the site, the responsible person, and the emergency plan policy. We also have things in here for the executive summary, legislation, and so on. I'm not going to fill all of this in now, but I am just going to put in the responsible person just so we've got some data on here. You can also put a recommended review date to remind the client when they need to review the fire risk assessment, perhaps in a few months or so. Let's save the section, and you can see that section is now complete. We can always go back later in the office and add any missing information if we need to. Now I'm going to go ahead and start adding some risks in the inspection and action plan section. This is where you're going to carry out most of your work when you're on site. So the fastest way to add the past 79 risks is using what's called a preset. If I tap this Add Preset button here, you can see we have a few different options. To add all of the past 79 hazards in one go, you can click this top option. Alternatively, you can add each of the different hazard groups individually. You can see this number on the right tells us how many hazards this will add in one go. So for example, if I click this top one, it's going to add 110 items. Whereas if I add this second one, it will just add 5 items. Let's go ahead and add all of the past 79 hazards in one go. Now I'm going to dive into the first section and answer one of the questions about arson. Let's say we found some bins that are too close to the building. I'm going to put a little comment in to say what we found. Then I can put a picture in. I'm going to select one from my gallery. And then we can put a recommendation in. For this one, I'm going to say move bins to a safer location. And the priority we'll put down as medium. Now let's imagine we've moved to a different part of the building and we found a separate non-compliance for arson. Wouldn't it be nice if we could take another photograph and record that non-compliance separately? Well, yes, we can do that by taking a copy of the original item and just changing a few details. So to take a copy, swipe to the right, cherry pick the items you want to keep. In this case, it's the same category, it's the same hazard, it's also non-compliant, and we're going to click continue. That's going to pull through all of that information onto this new item we're about to create. In this case, the bins we found are in the rear of the building. We can take a separate photo now. So let me just grab another one from my gallery. And the recommendation is going to be the same as last time. Move bins to a safer location. And the priority is medium again. So there we've been able to record 2 separate instances of non-compliance for arson. And we can continue on that way if we find further non-compliances. Now I'm not going to bore you with data entry, but the idea is now that you would just work your way through the risks, completing them as you go. I'll just add one more just so you can see how that works. This time I'm going to use the search to search for fire extinguishers. You can see I didn't have to complete that search, it's already found it. So in this case, the one I'm interested in is this one about suitable provision of fire extinguishers. Let's say we found a fire extinguisher, but it's actually the wrong type. So I'm going to say it's non-compliant. I'm going to type in fire extinguisher isn't suitable for this location. And I'm going to pop in a photograph of the fire extinguisher that we've observed, which is this one here. The recommendation will be to replace with suitable fire extinguisher. And let's say the priority is low for this one. So you can see that you can easily work your way through these risks either as you find them or in the order that they're given. I just want to show you one more thing, which is that each of the risks will be highlighted with this red highlighting here. That's telling us this risk item's been marked for review. In other words, we need to go in and fill in some missing information. Now you're not limited by the hazards that are included in the preset. You can add your own. I'm going to use a little shortcut to add an item to the housekeeping section. And let's say there isn't enough documentation. So we can just create our own hazard here, write some notes, and take some photographs. Now there might be times when you don't want some of the risk items to appear on the report. It might not be relevant. So you can swipe to the left to delete an item from the report. That might be useful if you're just doing an assessment on a communal area of a building or something like that. Now the method I've just shown you was adding all of the risk items using what's called a preset. If you prefer to add items individually, you can use what's called a quick fill. So if I add a new item, you'll see we've got this little lightning bolt icon. I can tap that and select one of the options from the list. If I select fixed wiring, it's pre-populated the category and the fixed wiring hazard into the hazard category. We can configure presets and quick fills however you like. So if you've got your own way of doing things or your own wording conventions, just let us know and we can populate these options for you. And this is going to save you some time when adding new risk items. Now there may be other things you want to record when you're on site, for example a floor plan sketch and so on, but I'm not going to go into much detail on those. I'm going to head back to the dashboard to start taking a look at the report. So what we would do at this point is we'd mark the site workstage off as complete, just as a reminder to anyone in the office that that's now done, and it's also going to be a reminder to ourselves where this job is now up to. So that's the data collection side done for now. Let's head back over to the dashboard. I'm going to show you the report and how that's looking, and we'll run through some basic quality control and start tidying things up. So at this point we can actually go ahead and preview the report. I'm going to select the fire risk assessment layout. Now the first thing you'll notice is it's telling us the report isn't ready. That's because there's a few issues we need to resolve before we can issue this to our client. We can see we've got the cover page photo we took, which has formed part of the cover page, and then we've got some basic information about the job and some light branding. We do customize reports for our clients, so you'll actually end up with something a bit more like one of these for your reports. These are some custom cover pages we've built for our clients, and this is going to reflect your own brand and color coding and personality. So just heading back over to the report, let's look ahead, and we can see those errors that were being highlighted on that first page. So it's telling us that there are 107 inspection items missing a compliance status. And that's because we didn't go ahead and fill in the missing information on a lot of those risks. At this point, you'd either need to go through all of those items and either delete them if they weren't relevant or fill in the missing information. And there were some other errors here which we're going to come back to in a second. So scrolling ahead, you can see we've got a report details page. A lot of this information has been pulled through from the job, including that map marker position that we chose when we set the job up. It's telling us who the surveyors were, when the job took place, and also we've got an overall risk rating for this report. Now we haven't actually specified the risk rating, so this will change in a second once we do that. Scrolling ahead, you can see we've got some basic summary items. Now because we only recorded 3 items, there's not much to show here, but we had 1 low risk item and 2 medium. We've got a basic table of contents, and if I scroll further ahead, you can see we've got some boilerplate text, which is all fully customizable. Scrolling ahead, you can see we have those 2 arson items and 1 fire extinguisher risk item. You can actually click these links to take you straight to the relevant section if you want to as well. We pull out the recommendations for the report to the start just to make it clear to the client what they need to do. And then, like I say, if I scroll ahead, we've got the individual detail for each of those items. But if I was to click one of these little view links, it'll take me straight to that section. So you can see it's taking me straight to the arson section and the bin item, the risk item that we looked at. Now, I'm going to resolve some of those errors that we saw at the start of the report. So the first one is telling us there's a housekeeping risk, but it's missing the recommendation. Let's find out which one it's talking about. Now I know the issue was with housekeeping, so I'm going to drag this category to the top to group by category, and then we're going to scroll down to the housekeeping section and expand this out. So we did fill in one of them, which was this one here. I'm going to go ahead and pop in a recommendation, which is to improve documentation. The priority, let's put in a medium for this one and click save. Now looking back at the report, you can see that error about the housekeeping has now disappeared. The next error is saying we need to specify some action timeframes. In other words, if we were to say something's low risk, how long should the client be taking to resolve that particular risk item? So let's head back over to the dashboard, open up the action timeframes section, and let's start specifying some durations. So for example, a low risk should be when appropriate, a medium risk, maybe this would be within 1 month, high risk could be within 1 week, and a critical risk, maybe that's immediately. Great. So we've now told the client how long they should take to resolve each of these risks ideally. Now in the report, those errors should now have disappeared, as they have done. Lastly, it's telling us to pop in the overall risk score, and this is going to determine the risk scoring at the start of the report. So let's go ahead, head into the overall risk score section, and we're going to score up this particular report. Now those errors should have disappeared, and if we scroll ahead, you can see that the overall risk rating on the report has been updated. Once all the errors are resolved, you're ready to issue the report to your client. There was just one more error about those risk items we hadn't looked at yet, so I've removed those from the report, and now we can go ahead and download the PDF. So in order to do that, click this download PDF button here. It takes a few seconds, but this will create a PDF in your downloads folder. I'm going to open up this report and let's take a look. So let's scroll ahead and see what changes we've made. First thing you'll notice is we've now got the page breaks, and we've got the headers and the footers. And the footers also have the page numbering in now. If I scroll ahead to the table of contents, you'll see the view links have changed to page numbers. This would be great if your clients printed off the report. They can riffle through the pages and find the relevant section. You can also click any of these links and it will take you straight to that section of the report. And that's going to be great when the report runs onto lots of different pages. The next thing you'll notice is each of these images is just a thumbnail, but you can click on it and view the full-sized image. And this is a really nice feature because it means the reports stay small. We scale them down to keep them small, but the client can still view the original detail and they can zoom right into the images as well if they want to. I just want to point out one more feature on this report, which is that if we have multiple compliance risks for the same category, for example, here, the overall compliance status is basically the combination of both of them. So if we had one non-compliance and one compliance, it's still overall a non-compliance. And it's clever enough to work out the overall status with a mixture of compliances, non-compliances, and not applicables. So at this point, you can send your report off to your client, and hopefully it should be an easy to digest report for them to understand. Now, I want to just quickly touch on some of the dashboard features that are going to make your life easier in the office when it comes to managing jobs. Let's head back over to the dashboard. Now, because I've finished this job now, I'm going to mark the quality control stage off as complete, and the issued also is complete as well. So this is telling the system that this job is now done. I'm going to head back up to the jobs list, and I'm going to show you some of the admin tools on here. So let's take a quick look at how this jobs list view can help you filter and find jobs that you've done. First of all, I'm going to filter this list by the fire risk assessment jobs that we're interested in. Now you can see that long list has changed into a much shorter list of just those types of jobs. We can go one step further and say, show me all of the fire risk assessment jobs awaiting site work. In other words, where the site work hasn't been completed. I could say, show me all of the jobs awaiting QC. In other words, the site work has been complete, but none of the subsequent stages have. You see where we're going with this. If I say awaiting issued, then the prior two stages have been complete and this final one hasn't. So this is great if you're doing a particular type of work. For example, if I'm doing quality control, I would simply work my way through a list of jobs in this screen. The job list search is also very powerful. If I have a client on the phone and I want to find a particular job, all I need to do is to start typing into this search box. So for example, if I've got a client for 𝗃𝗵𝗶𝘀 University, you can see I just type the name and it's going to show me all of the jobs where the client or perhaps the address matches that search criteria. Now you might have noticed that I've actually made a typo here as well. I've said 𝗃𝗵𝗶𝗀 University instead of 𝗃𝗵𝗶𝘀 University. And the search was clever enough to still pick up those results because we used typo tolerance. You can go one step further and search by something else. For example, if I want to say 102 Truitt Road, we're now searching on the client and also the address. So this search is going to help you find the job that you're looking for. There were lots of other things we could cover in this demo, for example, copying and moving reports, but I really just wanted to cover the basics here, and we've got lots of knowledge-based articles to help you understand those other features. But our main goal is to free up your report writing time so you can focus on what matters to you, whether that's growing your business, spending time with your family, or doing one of your hobbies. That's our North Star metric. So I hope this demo has been interesting and useful. If you're interested, please get in touch for a demo and we'd love to chat with you. All the best.